While Jake learned to let go of everything and accept life as it comes, Finn had to learn something harder. He had to break himself down completely. See, at 12 years old, Finn believed being a hero was simple. But by 17, Finn understood the truth. Not every problem can be solved with a sword. Being a hero sometimes means accepting you can't fix everything, and growing up requires letting go of the certainty that made you feel safe as a child. Now, this transformation didn't come easily to him. It came through romantic betrayal, paternal abandonment, physical mutilation, and literally fighting his own shadow self. And by understanding Finn's 5 core philosophical pillars, we can learn what it truly means to grow up in a world that refuses to stay simple. Season 1 Finn had a simple philosophy: slay monsters, rescue princesses, explore dungeons, and find loot. It was Dungeons & Dragons morality in a post-apocalyptic candy kingdom, and it worked perfectly in a world where the Ice King was clearly evil and heroism meant hitting things with a sword and saving bubblegum princesses. Creator Pendleton Ward deliberately added what he called a little wrath to Finn's character. He made him enthusiastic about violence, excited by it. And in early Adventure Time, that kind of made sense. In the Enchiridion, Finn wins the Legendary Hero's Handbook by proving he's the best warrior in Oo. The episode that should have taught him restraint instead reinforces that he's doing everything right already. But then comes his hero. Finn meets Billy, the greatest warrior in all of Oo, his literal idol. And Billy tries to teach him something important: that violence isn't always the answer. He's retired from fighting, and he's seeking peaceful solutions instead. So Finn tries to follow his idol. He really does. He attempts to solve problems without using his sword, without violence. But when a monster attacks, Finn concludes violence really is the answer. And he wasn't entirely wrong. Not yet. Violence is sometimes necessary in Oo. The problem was that Finn thought it was always necessary. He hadn't yet learned the difference. And that education would come through pain. The real turning point arrives in Season 5 with Frost and Fire, and this is where Finn commits his first major moral failure. See, he's been having prophetic dreams about Flame Princess and Ice King fighting, and he's desperate to relive those dreams in real life. So he does something unthinkable for a hero. He manipulates them to fight each other. He uses personal information to provoke Flame Princess emotionally, engineering a fight between her and Ice King just so he can satisfy his curiosity. He's treating real people like characters in his adventure, putting his desires above their well-being. When Flame Princess discovers what he's done, she doesn't yell or attack. She just says 5 words that cut deeper than any sword.
I need some time alone.
And she leaves. For the first time, Finn learns that being a hero isn't about defeating villains. He's quiet, "But I said I was sorry," might be the most devastating line in the entire series. He can't comprehend at this point that an apology doesn't fix everything, that some wounds don't heal just because you want them to and because you say you're sorry. Sometimes the villain is you. Sometimes good intentions don't matter if your actions cause harm. Sometimes you can't fix what you break. But the real dismantling of Finn's violent heroism comes through his father. Escape from the Citadel should have been a triumphant reunion. Finn spent years imagining his dad as another hero, someone who would explain why Finn was abandoned, someone who would make it all make sense. Instead, Martin is a selfish, narcissistic, and completely uninterested person in actually trying to be Finn's father. He is just out and about in the universe doing his own thing. When chaos erupts and the grass sword takes over Finn's arm to try to keep Martin there, to try to wrestle an explanation from him, his father only asks the Voidcaster to leave faster to avoid having this conversation with his son. And Finn's arm, his right arm, his sword arm, the literal embodiment of his sense of right and wrong, gets torn off. The episode The Tower shows how Finn processes this trauma initially, with rage and desperation. He builds a massive tower to space, powered by a psychic arm fueled purely by his anger. He's gonna find Martin and he's gonna make him pay. Violence will solve this problem like it's solved every other problem. But when he reached the top, when Princess Bubblegum creates a fake version of Martin for Finn to confront, he realizes something crucial. He can't do it. He can't go through with his revenge. He can't kill Martin. And the moment he lets go of that rage, the phantom arm disappears. This is the beginning of his wisdom. Not the end, he still has a long way to go, but for the first time, Finn understands that violence won't fill the void his father left. By the time we reach the series finale, the transformation is complete. In Gumbaldia, Finn literally says he used to be all about violence. When the Great Gum War threatens, he actively seeks diplomatic solution. He tries to make peace with Gumbald, his former enemy. And the most telling detail is that Finn didn't have a sword for much of the finale because he'd evolved beyond needing it most of the time. When Gulb attacks and threatens all of Oo, Finn leads the resistance. But he does it through collaboration, through community building and compassion. When Fern needs redemption, Finn offers understanding. True heroism is about building communities. It's about standing up for others. It's about choosing compassion even when violence would be easier. By putting emphasis on violence as just the resolution, the show is trying to say that the mindset of immature heroism leads to a false black and white situation, an extremely unforgiving world. But Finn had to unlearn everything he thought that made him a hero to discover what true heroism actually means. And that's just the first pillar. The second pillar is where Finn's philosophy gets really interesting, because unlike most heroes in fiction, Finn's drive to slay monsters isn't driven by tragic backstory. He does it because he likes it. It brings him joy. Princess Bubblegum represents rigid logic and scientific control. Jake represents acceptance and going with the flow. But Finn represents something different. Active engagement with life because you choose to, not because you're forced to. So this becomes the foundation of his entire worldview, and it gets its clearest, most beautiful expression in one of the show's most philosophical episodes, The Comet. In this episode, Finn is offered a choice, and to understand that choice, you need to understand the three philosophies presented to him, each represented by a color. Yellow, represented by Orgalorg, is unfettered ambition. Crush anything in your path, seize cosmic power, dominate everything. Pure will to power taken to its extreme. Blue, represented by Martin, is nihilistic self-serving randomness. Nothing matters, the universe is chaos, so why care about anything? Just drift through existence, taking what you can for your own gain sometimes, and forget about caring about anyone else. And pink, represented by the comet itself, is transcendence. Conscience intentionality, yes, but also the offer to leave all earthly concerns behind, to become pure cosmic consciousness, free from suffering, free from struggle, free from the meat reality. Most heroes would choose transcendence, right? The chance to evolve beyond human limitations, to escape pain and confusion, and to transcend mortal reality. Finn chooses the rainbow. Not one philosophy, but a synthesis of all of them. He looks at this cosmic entity offering him escape from everything difficult about existence, and he says,
I feel like I put a lot of work into this meat reality. I'd like to see it through.
This is Finn as what Nietzsche called the Übermensch, someone who affirms life as it happens, both good and bad, and someone who creates their own value system completely unfettered by society's expectations or weight of the past. Finn's moral code, which started by imitating Billy, has become entirely his own creation. But what makes this even deeper is that Finn has experienced devastating loss, betrayal, heartbreak. He knows life includes a lot of suffering, but he chooses it anyways. The Hall of Egress demonstrates this philosophy in action better than any other episode. Finn gets trapped in a mysterious hall, and he can't find the exit no matter how hard he tries. He punches walls, he screams in frustration, he uses every trick he knows, and nothing works. He can only escape when he does something counterintuitive. He sheds his beliefs, his clothes, his identity markers, and his eyesight, everything that makes him and defines him as Finn the hero. And then he just trusts his instincts completely, and he trusts his path in the world and moves through it without trying to control it. He goes along with the flow. In Astral Plane, Finn encounters another cosmic perspective, questioning that if being born is the greatest act of creation, isn't the rest after that just a big disappointment? And that's where Finn understands existence as temporary. He knows struggle leads to suffering, he knows it's temporary. It's just the way he's previously been dealing with suffering that isn't healthy, which he learns in his third pillar. See, Finn develops this thing called the Vault, which is a mental compartment where he locks away emotions he doesn't want to deal with. Difficult feelings, painful emotions, things that don't fit his hero narrative. He just stores them away and pretends they don't exist, and then throws away the key. In Breezy, Dr. Princess literally diagnoses him with a droopy flower. And Finn's response?
I don't know. Burp, 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 burp. I guess I don't feel anything. Blah.
So this is disassociation, emotional numbness. The Vault is working overtime to keep Finn from feeling anything at all. Most shows would have Finn process this in a healthy way throughout 1 or 2 episodes, but Adventure Time is not most shows, and it'll show you the brunt of it. Finn goes on a princess kissing spree. He's trying to get his flower, which grew where his arm used to be pollinated and to be cheerful again. But really, he's desperately seeking validation. He's trying to feel something, anything, through hollow romantic connections. Every kiss that he tries is empty. Every interaction is meaningless, and it does nothing for him. He's going through the motions of living while feeling completely dead inside. A lot of critics praised this episode for depicting teenage depression and unhealthy coping mechanisms with unusual maturity. Finn is using people, treating them as band-aids for his own wound that can't be healed by external validation. The flower to tree to new arm sequence at the end represents something crucial. He only begins healing when he stops forcing connection and accepts genuine love, whatever form that might be in. But the Vault is still there. It's still collecting trauma. The Vault episode reveals that none of this is new behavior. In a past life, Finn was Shoko, a one-armed girl who also made mistakes, who also betrayed Princess Bubblegum's trust, and who also struggled with who she was versus who she wanted to be. The pattern echoes across lifetimes. The same struggles, the same trauma, the same coping mechanisms. And in Come Along With Me, we finally see what's inside that vault. Jake and Jermaine discover that the vault contains a manifestation of his greatest fears and insecurities. Everything he's locked away, festering, growing stronger in the darkness. Here's the philosophical lesson Finn learns the hard way. Emotional resilience doesn't come from repression, it comes from processing. You can't lock away pain and expect it to fully disappear and never affect you. You can't pretend that trauma didn't happen just because acknowledging it and facing it is difficult. You can't build a healthy identity on a foundation of emotional denial. The Vault seems like protection. It feels like strength, putting all of his weaknesses and his horrors deep down where he doesn't have to face them. But it's actually a prison. Every emotion you lock away is a part of yourself you lose access to, is a part of your own development you lock away. Every trauma you refuse to process becomes a wall between who you are and who you could become. Because the feelings you fight become the demons you face later. And for Finn, those demons would take physical form. That's Fern. When the grass sword and the Finn sword merge together, they create a grass clone of Finn with all of his memories, all of experiences, and a curse that slowly corrupts him. Fern believes that he is Finn. He has all of Finn's memories. He remembers being abandoned by Martin, losing his arm, kissing Flame Princess, every adventure, every failure, every triumph. So how could anyone tell which one is real? In Reboot and Two Swords, Fern emerges from the fusion, genuinely believing that he's the original Finn. And then Jake, without a second thought, confirms that the other Finn is the real one. And just like that, Finn's entire identity is invalidated. He's the copy, he's the fake, he's the mistake, he's the wrong one. In Do No Harm, Fern seeks answers from the Grassy Wizard about why he exists. Desperate for some grand purpose that'll justify his existence, the wizard just tells him the truth.
I just thought it would be cool.
Finn Sword plus Grass Sword equals Grass Finn. That's it. No deeper meaning, no cosmic destiny, just a pun. Imagine learning that your entire existence, everything you are, everything you feel, everything you remember, is just a joke the universe played on you. That is some existential horror at its purest. And here's what makes Finn so philosophically important here. He represents Finn's shadow self. He is him, but a different side of him. Everything Finn fears becoming, everything Finn has worked to overcome, this Fern is more aggressive, more violent. He's more desperate to prove his worth. He's Season 1 Finn. He hasn't learned the lessons. He hasn't lived through it the same way that Finn has. When Finn leaves Ooo to search for his mother in the Islands miniseries, he does something that seems kind but is actually devastating. He entrusts the protection of Ooo to Fern, and Fern fails spectacularly. He tries to protect people, but he can't protect everyone. He can't solve every problem. He can't live up to the legend of Finn the human. And with each failure, the grass demon, the curse inside him, grows stronger, feeding on his insecurity, his jealousy, his rage at being the lesser version of the better hero. 3 buckets is where everything breaks. Fern decides that if he can't be Finn, if he can't live up to the standard that he holds himself to, He'll kill the original and take over his life completely, and he'll be the best Finn that ever was. The fight is brutal, and when Finn's robotic arm accidentally mulches Fern, something inside Finn breaks too. He's killed monsters before, he's defeated villains, he's killed plenty of things, but this wasn't any of that. This violence felt like failure, like killing himself even. But there is something beautiful to it. He's killed the wrong version of himself, even though he kind of feels it's wrong. In Come Along With Me, Finn and Fern meet in a shared dream. They confront the grass demon, the one thing that's holding Fern together, part of his main identity, and Fern himself makes a choice. He decides to kill it, and he chooses death over corruption with the demon at his core. He chooses to be good, even if only for a moment, rather than exist as something twisted. And that's the answer to the identity question. You are not your origin. You are not what that specific thing is that you think holds you together. You are not what made you. You are not what other people tell you you are. You are not even what other people made you. You literally decide who you are, even if it costs you your life. You're not your soul, you're not your body, you're not your memory, you're not what other people tell you, you're not what you tell you. You're only what you make of yourself, and you're only what you decide and work toward. You are your choices, your actions, and your words starting now. Fern was created as an accident. He was corrupted by a curse and invalidated as the copy of the real thing. Every circumstance said that he should have become the villain and opposed Finn and everything he was worth. But in his final moments, he chose heroism. He chose to sacrifice himself to make sure that the good Finn and the version of himself that he wanted to be survived. And that choice made him real. He was a person the entire time, and in the end, he chose to sacrifice himself to make sure that his choices mattered. Finn takes Fern's seedling and plants it at the destroyed tree fort, and eventually it grows into a massive tree with a new Finn sword in its branches. I think that really shows the growth that Finn, or Fern that is, could have shown in the future. That his soul, that seed which represents both Fern and Finn, grew to such a massive size and still had that sword in it, open to the next generation or 1,000 years in the future for the next hero to pick it up. But that tree, I think, which shows the growth of the soul, I think that shows that Fern really had a lot of good in him, and I'm really sad we didn't see more of him in the end. He was really sad to see let go of the series. Maybe eventually we'll see a descendant or some other kind of apparition or maybe some other version of Fern from another character. But this lesson, this version of Finn with his past self, with all the violence and rage and insecurity that he overcame, had become incorporated into something new, into something large and something lasting, something that represented Finn, but something that would hold the blade for the new generation, for something new. And this lesson extends to Finn's parentage too. The Islands miniseries reveals his biological mother, Minerva, and confirms what we know about Martin, that his father is a selfish criminal, and his mother is kind of overprotective to the point of oppression. And it's not that it was their fault originally, but at this point, they are what they are, and Finn rejects both of them and what they want for him. He chooses freedom, and he chooses the dangerous, chaotic ooh over the technological utopia his mother built with its medicine and its digital pods to turn him into her forever son, and he'll live forever in the computer. He actually chooses freedom and the potential for death and illness and getting mauled by random monsters over safety and spending time with her forever. And that must be a very strong, awkward, but scary position to be in, especially when you're telling your own mother that. But that's the thing. Heroism isn't genetic. Kindness isn't inherited. Finn owes none of his positive characteristics to Martin. Even though he may have gotten them from him, he was the one who chose to follow them. Everything good about Finn comes from his choices. Just like Fern, even though he was given an evil heart, quote unquote, he chose to be good. Finn chooses to be good, even though he got a lot of bad things from his biological father. He also got a lot of good things from his adoptive father. The show demonstrates over and over again, your memories, your body, your origin story, none of that really defines you. Your choices and your actions do. That's the fourth pillar. It's what separates Finn from Fern, even when they share the same past. It's their choices and actions, from Fern and his evil choices to oppose Finn, to his final choice to switch over and become the good guy Jedi again. Alright, so we've covered violence, we've covered existential choices and trauma and identity, but all of that leads to the final pillar, the one that ties everything together. Growing up means surrendering certainty for nuance and uncertainty. Finn ages from 12 to 17 over the course of the show. His voice deepens naturally with actor Jeremy Shada, but more importantly, his worldview as a character also transforms from black and white to full spectrum color. Early Adventure Time presents these clear moral lines between the hero and the villain. Ice King kidnaps princesses, kind of like Donkey Kong kidnapped a princess. Finn just rescues them. It's just white and black, really simple, good versus evil. But then Henchmen happens, and Marceline asks Finn to help her do some morally gray things, and his worldview cracks just a little. And over time, Ice King transforms from villain to tragic figure, Simon Petrikov. Anti-hero, he's cursed by the crown, he's desperately lonely, his mind is deteriorated. Princess Bubblegum, the paragon of good, is the one conducting mass surveillance and lying to her citizens for their own good. So this is all very gray territory. Sometimes the good guys are the ones doing the not so great things, and sometimes the bad guys are just lonely and afraid and their mind is broken. The world didn't change. Finn's perception just matured, and we as the audience saw that change as Finn matured and understood those differences. And nowhere is this more apparent than in his romantic relationships, his laboratories for learning emotional complexity. Princess Bubblegum teaches him about unrequited love and impossible age gaps. Too Young delivers his first kiss and his first real rejection when she tells him he's too young for her. Eventually, their relationship becomes a more healthy, platonic one, and that's the lesson. Moving on doesn't diminish what a connection meant. Some relationships serve their purpose and transform into something else, and that's alright. But Flame Princess was the one to teach the hardest lessons. She shows Finn's first real relationships. They have adventures together, they seem perfect for each other. And when he messes it up, the most brilliant move in animation history happens. They don't get back together. He doesn't fix it. His apology doesn't work. Adventure Time just says no. Some relationships can't and shouldn't be fixed. He lost her trust, and that's it. He's never getting her back. Good intentions after the fact don't excuse manipulation and abuse. Respect matters more than your desires, Finn. And that's really brave of this show. It's something I really respect. Finn learns that love isn't about getting what you want and manipulating others to do what you want them to. It's about honoring the other person's autonomy and making them happy, even when it means getting them to do things better and not having them forced into battle against your arch nemesis. By the time Huntress Wizard appears in the show, Finn approaches romance with a completely different level of maturity. He openly admits his feelings in Flute Spell, but he doesn't push it, he doesn't pursue her aggressively. They acknowledge mutual attraction while accepting their limitations. Their relationship remains ambiguous by series end, and with Fiona and Cake's second episode already being released, it's uncertain how their relationship went, but I think that's intentional. It was a much slower and more casual, but clean and honest form of friendship that could develop into a romantic relationship, but it is a much more mature version that doesn't jump into the deep end and cause more emotional damage. Sometimes growing up isn't reaching some final mature form where everything makes sense and you just know what to say and to do the right thing and it happens immediately. It happens over time. It happens with mistakes, over losing partners, over losing friendships, over getting feedback, and from making mistakes for sure, but over time, it's about learning and becoming a better person. It's developing the capacity to hold on to those contradictions, to love the people who aren't perfect, to forgive the people who don't treat you the best, to accept that you'll never have all the answers, to make peace with ambiguity while still choosing to care. I think Fern is one of my favorite characters, especially because you can see his growth so quickly and you can see how his philosophy changes over time so quickly. And the philosophy of Finn and the philosophy of Fern are so interconnected, but they cross each other so well because they are the same person, but they have such different circumstances. It really makes you question the nature of what it means to be a hero, to have the essence of a hero, to have a hero's heart when you have a curse as your heart and you just want to be a hero but you don't know how to do it right, it really makes me empathetic to Fern and his short life. I hope we can see something like him again, maybe in the past, maybe in an alternate timeline, something like that. But I really liked seeing his philosophy. And if you also want to see the philosophy of Jake the dog, and learning how to let go instead of holding on, how to accept instead of strive, watch our video on the philosophy of Jake. It's got some deep lessons on simplicity, joy, and why sometimes a sandwich is all you really need. Alright, we'll see you in that video. Peace.